Welcome back to the Fifth and Long podcast with Patrick DeMarre, Paul, the Commish, Kashack, and EJ, Dr. Locks, Mastronardi. It's been a long time, but we're back to talk some ball. And we've got a lot of offseason things to cover tonight. We're trying to do a little bit of a whip around. It's mostly draft centered, but there's some free agency related things as well, some other hot topic NFL storylines that are going on. So bear with us, enjoy, and follow us on the socials, Fifth and Long on Twitter and Instagram. We appreciate you listening, and we've got plenty of football ahead of us this year, folks. Without further ado, let's hit it.
Look at him run. No good, he missed it. Are you kidding me? Touchdown. He did what? There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle. Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. That's got a chance. That is good. It's good. Holy Toledo. Throws to the back of the end zone, and it is. Kick is on the way, and it is good. It's good. It's good.
Fifth and Long fans, ladies and gentlemen, everybody, football fans, like-minded individuals, or if you hate us and you're listening anyways, hey, we're back. Paul, Patrick, EJ, we're all here. Guys, it's great to be back. A lot of stuff has happened since we last talked ball. We've had new team with the Super Bowl, the Eagles. We've had some offseason signings and trades, quarterback drama, and the draft happened too. There's a lot of different places that we can start here. I want to start with this. Paul, Aaron Rodgers still is absolutely nowhere right now. He's not signed anywhere. Hasn't signed with your Steelers. Hasn't re-signed in New York. Hasn't signed with the Vikings. Your Steelers did take a quarterback in the draft this year, right?
6th round, Will Howard,
Will
national
Howard.
champion.
Out of Ohio State, yeah. Maybe no pressure on him. You know, maybe Mason is the guy this year and they let Howard take over next year. Or if things look bad this year, maybe he gets some snaps. Do you honestly think there's any shot in hell Rodgers is going to sign in Pittsburgh? Or even if that happens, do you want it at this point? Or are you just all in on Mason or the tank, whatever happens?
Do I think there's a shot? Absolutely. I think that there's a % chance he signs. I think he's going to either go with Pittsburgh or he's going to retire. I don't know which one I think is more likely at this point. I mean, something's got to happen sometime soon. I mean, he's trying to hold out as long as he can to skip OTAs, skip part of, training camp, everything like that. Like, I know why he's not doing this because he's debating what to do. He's doing this, I think, that he already has his mind made up. He's either drawing it out just for the sake of drawing it out, or if he is going to sign with the Steelers, he's drawing this out so he can skip some of the stuff that he doesn't want to do and show up for, that I already alluded to. Do I care if he signs? I could not care less if Aaron Rodgers comes to Pittsburgh. It's not going to make any difference for us. We're not going to win a playoff game. The guy won like 6 or 7 games last year in New York, if that, with arguably a better supporting cast. Look, I'm not naive. Mason Rudolph's not necessarily going to lead this team anywhere either. Will Howard's a 6th round pick, probably going to be a perennial backup. But I don't care. I'd rather just see those guys, see what they can do for a full year, and we'll see whatever happens, because next year, the draft in 2026 is in Pittsburgh, and that's got to be the year I'd say we take a quarterback. It'd be kind of fitting. So Aaron Rodgers, I could take you or leave you, really.
When is Tomlin's current contract up? Is it after this year?
No, he got a 3-year extension prior to last year. So he's got 2 more years after this one.
So no shot in hell he's gone this year unless it's
Mike Tomlin won't. Mike Tomlin's never going to get fired. Obviously, we know that, right? Pittsburgh Steelers don't fire head coaches. It's a stupid rule, but they don't. So at the very least, his contract, he's going to ride out his contract. And then I think that I've been saying in my head the whole time, if he fails with another rookie quarterback like he did with Kenny Pickett, then I think I could see the situation where ownership does a mutual parting of the ways. But that's still multiple years down the road, like I said.
What do you think would have to happen this coming season for a change to take place? Like, how bad do you think it would have to
No,
get?
nothing's gonna change. They don't have a franchise quarterback right now. Nothing's gonna change off of this. They haven't won a playoff game in 8 years. Nothing's happened. They're not gonna budge.
Do you think like genuinely, do you think Tomlin is like looking TJ Watt in the eye in their offseason meeting going into this year saying like, we're competing for a Super Bowl this year, and he's saying it with 100% seriousness? Like, I don't know if you can really, even if Rodgers is the move.
I think he is telling TJ Watt that our goal is to win and compete for a Super Bowl every year. I think both parties know coming up this year that that's not.
They've got their work cut out for them.
But I think that the message deep down, whether it's said in these exact words or not, is we are working towards it. We're not going to rebuild. And we want you here for the duration of your tenure and your career. And we want you to be part of a championship winning team. I think that that's the message. I think that TJ Watt is not stupid, and he can understand that the Steelers are not going to win anything this year. TJ Watt's never been part of a playoff winning team, and he's been on better teams than the one that he'll be on this upcoming year.
Next quarterback that I want to talk about, both of your teams, Paul and EJ, were, let's say, in the mix to draft Shadeur Sanders. Neither of your teams did. You can take a big sigh of relief. I know neither one of you wanted it to happen. Personally, my take on the whole thing, one, I don't think he's as bad as people are saying, but the character is maybe worse than people realize. And that's what's actually holding him away. He's an okay quarterback. I think he could be like a fringe starter in the league, but character-wise, there's a lot of stuff there. People have been saying more things after the draft about what has kept him off the board for some teams. Not low on their board, just off it entirely. The Browns selecting him in the end was really weird because, I mean, I don't want to make this all about the Browns right now. We'll segue more to them later. But the way that the Browns picked him was a little odd, how that whole quarterback circus unfolded this year, trading for Kenny Pickett, picking Dylan Gabriel earlier in the draft, then trading up to take Shadeur when probably nobody was going to take him. Getting the draft, the prank phone call is a little over the line, and that member of the Falcons organization is going to be fined, and I'm sure pay a little bit more of the fine than was publicly stated. That was a little over the top. Nobody really deserves that. I don't care, how bad or annoying of a dude you are. And apparently Sanders wasn't the only one who got a prank phone call that night. There was some other player that did too. I think it was Isaiah Bond.
Guys get prank called every year.
Yeah,
this
it happens
every year.
But Shadeur's was made very public because of what was going on in the draft and Mel Kiper losing his head. Just for you two guys, like, was there any part of you that thought or braced for that impact of the Sanders pick at any point? Did you think it was remotely a chance in rounds 2, 3, 4? EJ, definitely not you guys, because you picked Dart, but we were live together when the Giants traded up. Did you have a sliver of doubt in your head for a second maybe it was going to be Shadeur?
Yeah, I did. And
I think you were certain it was going to be Shadeur.
Yeah, I know. And I thought it was going to be pick 3. And that's where I was really nervous. So when they said Abdul Carter, I was like, thank the fucking Lord.
Best
and
pick
then
in the draft.
Yeah. And then they traded back up in the first round. And I had there was rumbling since like Monday that they wanted Jackson Dart. So obviously I
touched on the Browns and Shadeur earlier. I'm going to whip back around to that topic. Cleveland trades for Kenny Pickett in the offseason. They bring in Joe Flacco, familiar face. Then they trade out of the number 2 overall pick, passing on Travis Hunter essentially, to take Mason Graham 5 picks later. They pass on offense a couple more times in the draft, and then eventually end up going with Quinshawn Judkins, running back out of Ohio State. They draft Harold Fanta Jr. out of Bowling Green, really talented tight end, potentially. Then they go back to quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. They draft another running back, Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. So a lot of offense here. And then they trade back up into the 5th round to take Shadeur Sanders. My overall take, it just doesn't really seem like there's a plan there. Shocker with the Browns. Like, I understand the concept. You're throwing darts. You're hoping one of them pays out. But if you're just like, if you're bringing in 3 backup or bridge quarterbacks and you're using this amount of draft capital to do it, the picks for Pickett and then the picks for Shadeur, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, you need so many other things. Why not? And I know you just got burned doing it with Deshaun Watson, but like, I'd rather, if you're going to go that route, I'd rather go out and get like a Geno Smith or something, someone who's shown a little bit in the NFL. I don't know, man. To me, like, it was really weird overall, and it could be even worse 10, 15 years from now if Travis Hunter turns out to be this generational player. I honestly think that's the most likely outcome too. Like, I think the Browns are destined for another 5 years of misery, but who knows? Maybe Graham and the defense fits. Maybe the young running backs fit in right away and end up being good players. And maybe one of the quarterback dart throws they had this year pans out and they can be around 500. But given the way that they're approaching things, I'd say they're more looking to 2026 anyways. Either of you chime in here. I know I just said a lot there.
Yeah, I was going to say this probably later, but I think they had the worst draft. Which, like, I don't think
really
many teams
the worst?
had. I mean, if you're drafting a quarterback in the 3rd round and in the 5th round, one of them being Shadeur Sanders, drafting 2 running backs, like you said, they didn't really have a game plan. I feel like a lot of teams had a game plan. There were a lot of good players. They knew to attack the trenches on both sides, offensive line, defensive line, because that position was stacked, and that was a position of need. And Cleveland's just going, like, for all these guys that are trying to be game changers, and I don't think they got one real game changer. I think their team is the same, and the only game changer they could have got, they traded the pick out of, which, as you alluded to, I think they're thinking about 2026. They know Deshaun Watson's on the books for this amount of money. They can't get around that. They're going to have an open competition with Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and now Shadeur Sanders, and everything that comes with Shadeur Sanders, which will make them look like a comedy, but they're going to make money doing it. At least he's like already the top selling jersey. I just think this season's going to be a wash for them. I think they just signed Deontay Johnson, which is never a good look. Paul knows too well. So I don't know. I don't think many things are going to go right for Cleveland. And it sucks how ever since I've been on this show, they've been terrible, but
Deontay Johnson is going to be the Edwin Jackson of NFL Immaculate Grids like 5 years from now.
Got three AFC North teams down. He's just got to go through Cincinnati now.
It's crazy, man. I don't know if Cleveland had the worst draft. It on paper is a huge head scratcher, but there were some other teams that kind of underwhelmed me a little bit.
Before we jump into that real quick,
yeah.
I didn't mind the trade out of 2. I mean, I don't know what good Travis Hunter's going to do them without having a quarterback right now, and they'll have 2 first-round picks next year, a year that they're probably going to suck this year, like you guys said. I don't know. In a more quarterback-heavy draft next year, I kind of think that they did have a plan, EJ, at least for what I think that they understand that they are it's quantity over quality this year. If you catch lightning in a bottle with one of the many quarterbacks they brought in, great. Maybe that's just a good problem to have. But I think that the focus, at least in the early rounds, was next year's got to be our year. And I think that that's what the Travis Hunter trade signified for me. Then you're right. Kind of as the mid rounds went on and as like quarterbacks like Shadeur started to fall, I think that they just kind of were like, let's just like pile up and see if one of them hits type thing. So I think that kind of a plan early, and then they deteriorated off of it or didn't really have a plan for the back end.
Who's the better quarterback? And be honest, like, who do you think's a better quarterback? Dylan Gabriel or Shadeur Sanders?
Shadeur Sanders.
Shadeur had one of like the lowest turnover worthy play rates in college football last year. He's not a bad quarterback.
And I'm not
just a bad guy.
Yeah, I don't even think he's a bad. I guess like his interviews did come out as him being a bad guy, but he's just cocky, which like I guess is fine. But I don't think he's that good. And I do think he's better than Dylan Gabriel. Don't get me wrong, but he was never that high for me, and that's why I was dreading the Giants even thinking about drafting him. So I mean, I just think it's weird. Like that was obviously a jersey sales type of pick.
Yeah.
Like the owner butted in and said, "You're going to get Shadeur Sanders," and I think it's just going to come with like a lot of misery for them this year.
How about James Gladstone and Liam Cohn in the Jaguars front office? By the way, new kids on the block. What are we going to do to make an impression? We're going to trade up to number 2 and take a guy who we are claiming as a generational player who can fill not one, but two needs for us immediately. You're not doing that if you don't think he plays both sides of the ball. And the combination of Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, you don't even need Travis Hunter to be a number one guy. He can be a Devontae Smith. He could be a number two. He can be a Robin to Brian Thomas Jr.'s Batman on the offensive side of the ball, play like 60 to 75% of the snaps, and then go be the best guy on the field on the defensive side of the ball. That's going to help out Trevor Lawrence and the new young leadership pieces in that organization out so much in year one, if that can be the case. Now, people are pretty much either all in on Hunter or all out. I don't feel like there's a lot of people who are kind of like 50-50 on him. I did like you. You are. You are.
I'll give my opinion on him in a second. I'll let you finish your thought.
Well, I was just gonna say. Otherwise, Jacksonville's draft was okay. Like Bashal Tutin could be a starter right away. Running back. Their running back room is a little bit weird. Caleb Ransaw could be a good starter for them as well. They need a lot of things, but it's really going to help if they can get two elite players in the form of Travis Hunter being one person. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, my thing with Travis Hunter, I by no means at all do I doubt the talent. Heisman winner. I mean, just one of the best players in college football, since he stepped on the field. But where I have some concern is I'm sorry. I don't think he's going to be able to stay healthy playing as much snaps as he is. And I also don't know how long he's going to be able to play both snaps. I think it's one thing to do it in college, do it at Jackson State, then do it at Colorado. I think it's a whole entirely different thing. Like when he is in his late 20s, so still his football prime, and he's 6-7 years into the league, like, is he still going to be able to play 120, whatever snaps it's going to be playing both sides of the ball? So I just have my doubts about how long he's going to be able to be a two-way player. And so you might be getting him for his first rookie contract as a two-way player. That's great, but you might just be getting a good or elite cornerback or just a receiver after that. So that's why I'm like a little lukewarm on him. But what I would say about this is Trevor Lawrence, this is it, buddy. I mean, I know that you've got the contract, but you've got all the weapons in the world now. You've got Hunter, you've got Brian Thomas. I mean, you got to succeed. There's no excuses here. Last year was a big step back for Trevor Lawrence. And I think, tell me if you guys follow my train of thinking on this. By Jacksonville actually doing this, I think signifies how worried they actually are about Trevor Lawrence. Here's why I say that. They're so pot committed to him. They've paid him. He was the number one pick, like supposed to be this great quarterback prospect. There's just been so much invested in Trevor Lawrence. And I think that the fact that they feel the need to go and get another elite wide receiver to supplement him means that they don't think that he is capable of elevating talent around him, which I think that like a number one overall pick, a guy of his stature, a guy of his prospect caliber, you shouldn't have to trade up to go get the receiver here. You should be able to sit back and get somebody in the second or third round that your stud quarterback can elevate to a really good player. So I think that this actually signifies that Jacksonville is very, very worried about their quarterback and Trevor Lawrence, and they're trying to use everybody around him to make him better when it really should be the other way around.
EJ, you want to bat lead off on this one?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You kind of look at the way Clemson quarterbacks came out, and they came out like so promising, like Deshaun Watson, obviously Trevor Lawrence, and they just kind of like get an injury, not even a major-ish injury, and they fall off a cliff, or they get a sexual assault case and fall off a cliff.
But like 30 sexual assault cases.
They say those Clemson Tigers wear orange to prepare him for those orange jumpsuits they're going to wear in jail.
Oh my goodness.
But you see like how bad their football turns, like their football IQ, just how bad it disintegrates. So like it goes to show you how good of a coach I think Dabo is, even though I don't really like giving him credit for much. But I think he's able to kind of develop quarterbacks, and when he watches them go and lets them go, you see their true colors start to show off after a few years. So, it's a big year for Trevor. I know they who's their tight end this year? I don't think they have a.
It's a
strange
Evan Ingram.
Yeah, because they did get rid of Evan Ingram, who is, I will say, a target for them. So I think they got a better, more reliable target in Travis Hunter. So it's taking a little, giving more, I guess, in a way. It's a big year for Trevor Lawrence, man. I mean, I thought it was a Duval after seeing the trade up, but we'll see what happens. It's a good move for them.
I understand the sentiment both of you guys have, and I don't fully disagree, but I don't think that was the intent of the move. I think there is worry in the building, but I think what they were doing in regards to Lawrence is, first of all, I mean, their first two picks were to theoretically defense first players, Hunter, and then I mentioned Caleb Ransall. He's probably going to be a safety, maybe like a slot corner. Then they go O-line with Wyatt Millam trying to protect Lawrence. They go running back, linebacker, safety, OL, running back. They're mostly focusing on offensive line and defense with a couple running backs mixed in. They had a bad running back room last year. They needed that. So not bad. Tank Bigsby was okay. Just that's a question mark. Like they don't know what they're going to get out of ETN this year. I don't either. I was low on him last year and never mind. Anyways, I think the Lawrence thing is just kind of like when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. They're trying to make lemonade. They don't know what the recipe is yet. They don't know how much sugar to put in there, how much water, but they're going to try because they have this money committed to them. You have to try to make it work at least for a year or two. This is, as we know, kind of like a 3-4 year league as far as opportunities go for first-time coaches, maybe less if things go really bad. So they've already shown they're willing to be aggressive. I think if this year is bad, definitely be on the lookout for something. But if it's at the same time, if it's a really bad year and that's mostly because of Lawrence, like I don't think you're really going to have a line of organizations trying to trade an arm and a leg for him when you have the quarterback class that we've alluded to already several times in this podcast coming up next year. Just my thinking there. I don't disagree with your train of thought, but that's my piece.
Well, on the coaching thing too, to call out, I mean, you got to give Liam Cohen, more than a year. I mean, if it's really bad, if it's really bad, and you're talking about moving on from Cohen, I mean, that would mean that Lawrence would then be getting a fourth head coach in, what would that be, 6 years, 5 or 6 years?
Daniel
That's just
Jones.
not a recipe for success.
They gave Daniel Jones 6 years in New York. Trevor Lawrence could get a decade in Jacksonville.
Fair enough. But it doesn't set him up for success when he's going through 4 different playbooks, 4 different, coaching trees, or just that's not a way that you groom a young quarterback.
Daniel Jones had to do that.
And Daniel Jones isn't a starter anymore, so
that's arguable.
Well, hey, I love Danny Dimes. Somebody on this podcast does not. I will not name names, but somebody has called him Danny Nichols at different points in time.
Danny Nickelback. Yeah, man. I do actually want to talk about the Colts a little bit because we were talking about underwhelming drafts earlier. Theirs to me was a little underwhelming. At least they got Tyler Warren at the top of the draft, and he could be a much needed addition to both their passing and running game. Otherwise, it's like, I don't really know what's going to happen. This could be a fork in the road year for Shane Steichen and company. I think them and Miami are like the 2 AFC teams this year that are going to have real pressure to show something, just anything, like some kind of sign of life. You need to get into the playoffs or win a game or something, right? If Houston wins the division again and you're, a game or 2 behind them and you're floating around 500, Shane Steichen could be the quarterback whisperer of the best quarterback whisperer of the last 20 years. If you're not winning games, you're not winning games. Warren, I like though. And that was, 1+. The Detroit Lions, I thought, had kind of a weak draft, but Todd McShay talked a little bit about this on his podcast, and I completely agree. Brad Holmes is batting close to 1,000 the last few years. I'm not going to doubt him. I don't know. A lot of these picks were reaches. That's what everybody's saying. But whatever, man, you do you. It's worked out in the last couple of years. You probably hit on something. At the very least, I would bet that the O-lineman they took out of Georgia, I forget his name. He just seems like a perfect Dan Campbell guy. Tate Ratledge. There we go. Tate Ratledge. Yeah, he's got like the mullet and the mustache and everything. Like that is an offensive lineman. That is a Dan Campbell player right there.
Yeah, but I take an offensive lineman, or at least an offensive guard, such a pussy move in the first round.
That was a second round pick, but I still like it.
Was it?
Yeah, I still like where you're coming
You're
from.
calling out the Cowboys and it's so hard right now.
Yeah, because they're like, yeah, we developed talent so well. I'm like, dude, you took the top offensive guard, like top 20 picks. Of course he's gonna be sick. Like you can't take pride in that.
I actually really liked Dallas's draft outside of the first pick. Booker should probably be a starting guard and be like a pretty good one. It's a little high for him, but if he works out, he works out. Nobody will bat an eye. Devin Ezeraku and Sharon Revel Jr. I think I'm saying it. It's either Sharon or Sharon. My apologies if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Those guys could both be impact starters right away. And if Diggs comes back healthy, they could have a pretty good trio of cornerbacks. Defensive line could get a little bit better too. Ezeraku could help out Parsons, just taking some pressure, some eyes, some attention off him. Otherwise, man, like the Rams kind of had an underwhelming draft, but I really like the addition, of course, of Devontae Adams. Like, what do you guys think about exit Cooper Kupp, stage left, enter Devontae Adams, stage right? How is that going to go? Is that he would theoretically at least be on the field more often than Coop, and that's probably going to help, right? Probably be more healthier all around. More
I don't know.
healthier.
Devontae's been not really on the field the last few years either way, whether he was faking injuries or actually injured. But
Yeah, I think he was faking.
but he hasn't been on the
hamstring that conveniently healed as soon as he got traded to the Jets.
That is fair. Pulled a James Harden there.
I think it's going to be a plus for the Rams. I don't think that Devontae Adams ain't the guy he was in Green Bay. He's going to be the number 2 to Puka Nacua in my opinion. But I mean, Cooper Kupp hasn't played a full season since 2021. So I give Adams, if Adams can just play maybe 3 to 4 more games per year than Kupp. I mean, Kupp's been playing like half a season, feel like, for the last 2 or 3 years. If he can just get maybe 3 to 4 more games, and keep in mind Nacua was hurt for a big portion of the season last year too. So Stafford really, they've found ways to win games without even like any receivers at different points. So I think Stafford's got to hold up himself, but it's going to be at least better.
Yeah, the clock is ticking on Stafford. The biggest takeaway for me from the Rams was that it really looked like they wanted to take Jackson Dart if he was available at that pick. And EJ, you and I were on that call. As soon as he left, the Rams traded out of that next pick right away. The writing was on the wall with that. That was who they wanted this year. I don't know what they're going to do next year, but I would assume they try to bring in another quarterback, a young one next year through the draft or other channels. We'll see what happens.
I was going to say they don't have a young backup, but I mean they have Jimmy G. So if Stafford does for some reason go down, Jimmy G knows how to win some games. He's done it in the past.
Do you guys find that a little bit odd though? That I mean, I hear what you're saying, Patrick. I'm not denying what you're saying that they might have wanted Dart, especially if they traded out of the pick right after that. But if they really liked Dart, why not trade up to get him? Like this
they
is
just
a
didn't
team
want
that has
to
not
get rid of their picks. They wanted to.
Oh, the Rams don't want to get rid of their picks
This year.
They've had they went 7 or 8 years in a row without having a first round pick up until I think it was last year or the year before.
Yeah, McVay likes having them now.
That's the point I'm trying to make. It's like, why is this team that set such a precedent for trading picks away? If they really like the guy, why didn't they trade up to get him and ensure that the Giants couldn't? That's what I'm trying to wrap my head around. That I can't. I don't disagree with your premise.
Well, to be fair, the Giants traded up, if I'm not mistaken, and made that pick.
They did. So why didn't? If the Rams really loved the guy, why didn't they move up to get him?
I think they
had to know. EJ was saying that it was from earlier in the week that the Giants were rumblings about looking for Dart and that they liked him. They had to know, and that there was a possibility that a team like the Giants or the Browns or somebody of that ilk was thinking about trading back into the first round. All I'm saying is, if you really love the guy, like, why didn't you move up a couple slots and go nab him?
My guess would be they didn't want to give up that much of a haul, and they did recognize that you can I think they recognized, they basically looked at the decision and said, we can either let the guy fall to us and go with him, and we'll work on it this year and see what happens over the next 2-3 years, or we can let him pass, trade down, get some more picks, use those to get some more depth, and next year maybe there's some better options, and we don't have to put as much pressure on us just as an organization. Like trading up for a quarterback in the first round when you have a Super Bowl winning quarterback on your roster from the last like 3 or 4 seasons, that's pretty recent. It's not like Stafford won that Super Bowl a decade ago. They're still within that 5-year grace period window, right? Like that chapter isn't closed, but if you make that trade, you're saying like this year or next year is it. And that may already be the case, but that puts finality to it. That's like, all right, Matt, now your role is transitioning. You're still going to be the starter, but we want you to teach this kid too. Maybe they end up doing that next year anyways, but I think given the player, given probably what was being asked from them to make that trade up, the Giants were, let's say, in more of a position of need to do that than the Rams were.
I'll give you a good example too. The Giants in 2021 really wanted Devonta Smith. Eagles traded up to pick 10 to take Devonta Smith. Giants immediately traded out at pick 11, went down to 20. Bears took Justin Fields, and the Giants took Kadarius Toney. Just goes to show the Giants wanted Devonta Smith, but they didn't want to get rid of the other pieces in order to get Devonta Smith. And we both saw how that turned out. So I also think, I mean, the Rams have Stafford. They didn't need Dart. They like Dart. I don't think they wanted to get rid of a first round pick next year, even though the Giants did not do that to move up. So it makes you think. But I think they were just going to take him, but they were, once the Giants traded up, they probably had that in the back of their head, and they were like, whatever, we'll just trade out of it now, get some more picks.
Yeah, so that just kind of, and I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying there. I think that just begs the point that I don't know. I don't know if that speaks great for Dart, that the Rams are just, kind of like you guys said, content with just moving on if we didn't get him. I think that's the point I was trying to drive home more than anything. It's that doesn't speak that great volumes, that such a strong offensive line like McVay was, I don't want to say lukewarm about him, but like was take it or leave it if he actually did, get him in this draft.
Well, we all know it's a very weak QB class. So
indeed,
if you have last year's class compared to this year's class, you're probably looking at it like. But at the same time, you never know when that class is going to come again. There've been multiple years with just shitty quarterbacks after shitty quarterbacks.
Somebody who roots for a team that drafted Kenny Pickett in one of the worst quarterback classes that included Malik Willis and I think Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder. I can concur.
Tyler Shuck, another quarterback in the draft.
Let's just keep naming guys like that.
went to the New Orleans Saints. He's a 2nd-round pick. Most likely going to get some starting snaps for them at some point this year, either by taking Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler's job, or by Derek Carr getting injured and taking Spencer Rattler's job.
I saw Carr might get surgery on some. I don't know if it's his shoulder or something, but there's a real chance he could miss the whole season.
I think that's probably like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge from the Saints athletic trainers. Like, you need surgery. Don't play for us. I did actually. Go ahead.
I mean, Derek Carr, I know that there's money you could leave on the table there, but how much more does he want to risk his body? He's made a good amount of money in his career. How much more does he want to put on the line himself? It could be a situation where, does he really need the surgery? Maybe not, but the Saints don't really care if he's playing games. Carr probably doesn't want to risk the body. Kind of could be a perfect time to, take this season off.
I did actually like the Saints draft overall. Kelvin Banks is going to be a great tackle in the league. Shuck, I don't really know. He's got some things I like, some things I kind of don't. Question mark for me. And I like the Devin Neal pick, the 6th-round running back out of Kansas. He could be a really good 3-down back potentially for them. We'll see. Kamara hasn't been able to stay on the field a bunch the last couple of years. they need someone to fill in for him at some point in the next couple of years anyways. I have not tooted my own horn yet. I just want to say you'd be hard-pressed to find experts out there that said my New England Patriots had a bad offseason. Free agency, draft, all of it. This is exactly what I wanted out of Mike Vrabel coming into the building. Josh McDaniels coming back. This feels like a completely different team. Haven't even played a game yet. I'm not going to say something crazy like I expect a playoff team or playoff wins or anything like that. But the goal this year was very simply, let's give the roster a makeover. Let's bring in a lot of new faces. Let's change the culture. And let's at least give this car a different look, a different paint job so that the body and hopefully the engine runs a little bit better in Drake May. Will Campbell, character, home run. I don't know how he'll be in terms of size for a tackle, but if he's one of the top 5, top 10 guards in the league for 10 years, I'll take that too. Travion Henderson, dude, Austin Eckler light is who I'm thinking for him. If I get 75% of Austin Eckler for 6 years, I'll be stoked. Kyle Williams could be the best separator, quote unquote, in the receiver class this year, meaning he gets open. The Patriots need that. Liked the defense picks. Craig Woodson, safety out of California. The quarterback out of Memphis, Kobe Minor, at the end of the draft, he could be solid as well. Some edge picks after that. Braden Swinson was a guy who was projected as a top 50 pick who fell to the Pats in the 5th round. That was solid as well. Defensive additions otherwise, bringing in Milton Williams, Garrett Bradbury, offensive lineman. Yeah, man, like I said, the goal was to reshape the roster. They did. They brought in a lot of talented veteran players and some talented young guys as well. I don't want high expectations this year, but the expectations in New England undoubtedly will go up. From the outside looking in, do you guys think I'm crazy for thinking and feeling these things? Or maybe is there some fire to the smoke?
No, I mean, I thought they had a great draft. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
No, you're good. I don't have to. I think you're getting a little bit ahead of yourself, Pat. I don't think that you are. I don't think you're out of bounds or coming in from left field to have some optimism. You should. You got a young quarterback. You just got somebody. Will Campbell plays the left tackle, I believe, right? So you got somebody to protect his blind side. So, and I've seen a couple interviews. Seems like a pretty well spoken gentleman as well. So I think that there's certainly reason for optimism. I still think that you got to see all the pieces come together, right? I mean, we still don't know what we got from Drake May yet. What does his supporting cast look like? Receivers. I know that you're high on Travion Henderson, but I think you got to see some of
Diggs
that.
is in that room too now. That's different. I don't know what he'll look like, but
I think that there's a lot of doubt and uncertainty around him as well. You know, age, coming off the injury as well. What kind of locker room presence is he going to be? Is it going to be a veteran leadership, or is it going to be kind of a head case type deal with what we've seen from Stephon Diggs at his time in Buffalo, at least, for example? So I think that there's still a lot of question marks there. But yeah, you couple hopefully a leap from Drake May. You got a little bit of offensive line help now, maybe a little bit help in the supporting cast, like I said, and you now have an undeniably more competent head coach. There's a lot of things, yes, that you guys 100% did improve on. I would say probably just pump the brakes. It's difficult for what you guys win 3 or 4 games last year. I can't remember.
4 games.
Yeah, so it's tough for a 4-win team to just go ahead and take a leap to a playoff team. It has happened before. But I think that just, you can only get so good in one off season. That's all I'm saying.
I would be thrilled if we got 7 wins next year. Seven wins or higher.
So if you're just looking for like 7 wins, that's fine. I thought the way you were talking earlier about some of the acquisitions and you're throwing out, potential for, I don't know, maybe going to the playoffs. I thought that your win total was going to be a little bit higher. 7 wins, I think, is not getting too over your skis at all.
Yeah, that's kind of more what I'm thinking. If you can keep losses at double digits or less, I'll be happy. And back to the Diggs injury, Julian Edelman had the same injury at the same age and had nearly 2,000 yards and 12 touchdowns over the next 2 seasons combined, with the better stats coming in the second year. I don't think he's going to be like fully hampered. I think he's going to be okay. Probably a little slower at first out the gates, but I think he'll still be all right.
Just saying, 2,000 yards and 12 touchdowns over 2 years is not like that great. That's like solid. but nothing special.
1,000 yards and half a dozen TDs. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, like it's not bad, but that's not game changing.
It's not wide receiver one.
Yeah, exactly.
100 receptions in 2019. He was definitely the wide receiver one that year, for the Pats at least. But I understand
a little bit better
your
yards
points.
per catch to only have 1,000 yards on 100 catches.
I understand your point. I can't believe we've made it this long without talking about either team that played in the Super Bowl last year. Eagles lost a lot of players from their roster, but not many of the core players, and they added some pretty talented looking players through free agency and the draft. Jahad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama, first-round pick. Andrew Makuba, safety out of Texas, second-round pick. Both of those guys could be absolute home run additions via the draft. And the free agents are just kind of like what they looked like last year. It's a bunch of guys who kind of flew under the radar, and maybe they end up having career years with Philly this coming year. On the Chiefs side of things, shored up their offensive line through the draft. Really liked their first round pick, Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, out of Ohio State. Other than that, it's a lot of depth guys, and their free agent additions was kind of the same thing. But that's really all the Chiefs need at this point. And they just need to find a way to get back to that game next year. Maybe not play against the Eagles this time around. That could be helpful. I don't know, man. Like, if you guys had to put any percentage on it, 0 to 100% confidence level, how confident are you that we will have the same Super Bowl teams next year, or how confident are you that we will have different teams? 0 being different teams, 100 being the same teams.
I am 100% confident that we will have different teams.
Okay, I like that, EJ. Paul?
I would say different team. I would say that there's at least a different team. I'm very confident in it not being
one of those
teams
ain't making it back.
Yeah, I'm very confident in not being the exact same matchup. I mean, the mathematical prop, not to answer the question like this. Sorry, this is how I answer questions like the one you asked, but like mathematical probability wise, it's just extremely unlikely. So yeah, I'll say like high 90s confidence there. I think I expressed at the end of last year, like I still got the Chiefs dynasty is not over. Like I think that they will be fine, and I would give them a better chance to get back than the Eagles. And I feel like a lot of people have that flipped, but I think that the Chiefs have a really good chance to get back, but I think that something will turn over in the NFC.
Yeah, we'll see. There's going to need to be another NFC standout team that takes a step up, I think, but definitely could happen. There's a lot of teams poised to do that.
Could be a team coming within the Eagles' own division. You know, Detroit could just stay healthy. Like, there's a lot of paths for the Eagles to not get back.
Detroit, which NFC East team do you think is making that jump? Cowboys, the Commanders? You think the Commanders are gonna?
Commanders were in the NFC Championship last year. I don't think that's that crazy of a thing to say.
No, I don't think it's that crazy of a thing to say. But some people could say, "What about the sophomore slump for Jaden Daniels? What if that year was a fluke?" You know, I
mean, sure, you could say what if till you're blue in the face, but I mean, you don't have
Absolutely.
any more evidence he's going to hit a sophomore slump, you know, compared to him breaking out.
Absolutely.
Jordan Love MVP season. We were a year early.
Too.
Yeah, maybe we're a year early on that. Maybe. No, I liked the Commanders draft. They had some good picks. Jalen Lane, wide receiver out of Virginia Tech in the 4th round, could be okay. I love Trey Amos, corner out of Ole Miss, and Josh Connerly, the tackle out of Oregon. But I understand your point. Like, that is a team who very easily could take a step up this year. As long as Daniels keeps developing, which like he should, and some of those depth pieces that work out last year pay off again. Yeah, maybe, you know, we could expect them to challenge at least the Eagles for the division. I think they are at least expecting to do that inside the locker room. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. That is a Cinderella team I'd love to see be good again next year.
Matt, what about you? How about you answer the question? Do you think that the competition for Philadelphia to get back to the Super Bowl is greater or worse than what Kansas City will have to face this upcoming year in the AFC?
I mean, Kansas City definitely is going to deal with more competition.
You
But
think?
yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't handle it well. I think that there
Well,
is more.
okay. Well, I'd love to hear your thoughts because I actually disagree. I think the AFC is a little bit easier path.
I think the AFC is less deep than the NFC. I think the NFC is a deeper conference, but I think the talent within the teams at the top of the AFC conference is better than the talent at the top of the NFC conference. I think that when you look at Super Bowl contenders and you draw out the list, let's say, I'm not like really thinking about it right now, but let's say it's 6, 7, 8 teams. Most of them, I think, are going to come from the AFC side compared to the NFC side. Is kind of where I lean with it. The NFC, if you're stacking up like top 16 seeds overall, maybe the NFC has more that fit into that bracket. But just like the top 6, 7, 8 teams in the league, I think there's more AFC teams there.
I don't necessarily see eye to eye on that, but what part of the reason I wanted to bring this discussion up is because I I feel like the team that has been, I guess, the closest to Kansas City, the team that seems to be the runner up to Kansas City every year is Buffalo, right? I don't think Buffalo did anything in this draft to get that significantly better. They went all defense for the first 4.5 rounds, and they might have gotten good players there defensively, but
All
I
those guys
mean,
are high floor picks, is how I would describe them.
not even getting into floor ceiling with those guys. It's like, I mean, they didn't take an offensive player until this, I believe their second pick in the 5th round.
Right.
Josh Allen's a unicorn, man, but you don't want to give him any help. Like, I believe Keon Coleman can get better, but like we're talking about, we talked all last year about
They
Keon
brought in
Coleman,
Josh Palmer.
Khalil Shakir. Like, come on, dude, you have an opportunity to, if it's not a 1st round pick, okay, like you have an opportunity to get Josh Allen some receiving help, man, and they didn't do it. I don't know. They struck me as a little bit lackluster. I wanted to bring them up, and that's part of the reason. Like, I don't think that the top, like, Baltimore can't get out of their own way in the playoffs for whatever reason. Buffalo always loses to Kansas City, and I don't think that any of those teams did anything to like make you think that this year is going to be different. So I think Kansas City is just going to find a way to get back.
I think Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo. Yeah, they went all defense, but they got Joey Bosa as well. Like they went big on defense. I think just fully in the offseason. They committed.
They brought in Josh Palmer too. That's not going to be like a game changer, but
Okay.
I like Joshua Palmer.
He's okay. He's okay.
He's a good guy to pick up on
All
a bye
right,
week.
you guys sound the alarms and blow the
We
trumpets for
drafted-
Josh Palmer coming into Buffalo. That they are definitely going to beat the Chiefs this year because they got Josh Palmer.
I understand your point though. There is like they don't have, it seems like, the sense of urgency you would expect them to have given their situation in their conference the last half decade, let's say. Like they are very easily let's say easily the second fiddle in their conference, like year after year after year, sometimes the third.
You know the argument I made about Trevor Lawrence, how I thought, whether you agree with it or not, how I thought that like
At some
moving up,
point,
it signified how they've got some doubt about how much natural talent he has. Like, I think that it's the complete opposite from Buffalo, but they take it a little bit too far. They know how damn good Josh Allen is, so they feel just no need to go and like get him talent in the draft around him.
well, to
And
double
it's like,
down
I think
on
you got to
that,
find a happy medium.
it's not like he's pulling a Joe Burrow in press conferences, like basically calling shots saying like, no, we're re-signing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. He's not a guy either who's going to even slightly allude to playing for a different team if he doesn't get what he wants. I don't think there's internally any, like, I'm agreeing with you, but I'm also saying in their heads, they think Josh Allen's going to be quarterback there for another 15, 20 years, but that's like not the case. Maybe 15
Well, I don't know
max.
what that has to do. I don't know what that necessarily has to do with it. Yeah, they just signed into a long extension. It's like, but the point of what I'm trying to say is you got to
They're
find
just too comfortable. Too comfortable.
Yeah, you got to find a happy medium between what the Bengals are doing. For example, that's a good team to bring up. You just spend all of this money so that now you have no ability to pay guys like Trey Hendrickson and other talented guys on your defense, and your defense is just completely shot as a result. You need to find a happy medium between that and I think what Buffalo is doing. And if Buffalo can do that, I think that might maybe give them a chance to beat Kansas City. Maybe, maybe not, but I think that they need to find some sort of middle ground.
I did actually like the Bengals draft this year. Obviously, they needed some help on defense, so they picked Shamar Stewart 17th, and then they picked Demetrius Knight Jr. 49th. Both those guys could be pretty solid. They did a lot of offensive line as well, a couple other um, defensive additions through undrafted free agents and the draft. Yeah, they're going to have to hope that some of those guys pan out. And I don't really know what they're going to do with Trey Hendrickson. They're going to have to move some money around over the next 4 or 5 years. They are in a really tough space as far as that goes, but theoretically should be better next year.
You kept your cornerstone happy in Burrow, so got to hope for a chance now. You got to hope Burrow pans out and doesn't get injured again.
I like that mention of the Bengals there. How about the Chargers? I think the Chargers addressed all of their biggest needs in the draft. Running back, receiver talent in depth, defensive line depth. All of their top 4 picks have solid starter potential. Like, that's another team. I don't necessarily think they're going to compete for a Super Bowl this year, but I would expect them to be in the playoffs again. The challenge this year is going to be finding a way to win a playoff game, maybe 2, and show that you can threaten the top dogs in that conference. That's the next step for those guys.
I think they're just a receiver away. And maybe McConkey could take that step. He's a damn good receiver, but even then you need a wide receiver too. I mean, Mike Williams he's good, but he ain't great. Maybe Trey Harris will be a big part this year, but they really need a big step from Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, they need they need another receiver, tight end, somebody to step up. Yeah.
Really like their draft though.
No, I do too. Hampton and Harris together could be a pretty solid combination. And having both those guys in the room, I don't think there's either pressure on either of them to be like 1,000-yard rusher. Najee, don't worry. You don't have to keep the streak going.
Hey man, I'm a big Kamani Vidal fan. I don't think he gets enough credit.
Huge Kamani Vidal guy.
Kamani Vidal, Josh Palmer. I didn't see EJ throwing out some of the names that he did today. I mean, you guys know I'm not a first round running back guy, so I'm not gonna say that I love this draft, but I do like some of the guys that they got after. Always good to get a receiver, as higher than you can. I mean, they've done that now. They've gotten McConkey in the second round. I think that was last year. Trey Harris now in the second round. Johnson was either first or second the year before. So
first.
I mean, they've spent a lot of high draft capital on receivers. That should be just fine for Justin Herbert. But my take on running backs, I think that they could have waited till the middle rounds and got somebody to complement Najee there. So I wouldn't have gone for Hampton there, but I do know a lot of people. I even heard some scouts saying that they thought he was as good or better than Genty. So we'll see what that materializes into.
I'd say Najee's going to compliment Hampton, not the other way around.
Yeah. Probably misspoke there.
100%. And I love Najee landing with the Raiders, by the way. They're another team who...
Najee's with the Chargers.
No, not Najee. Sorry, Genty.
Yeah. Landing
with the Raiders. Polar opposites there.
Similar running backs.
Yeah.
First round picks.
Najee Genty. That's going to be my fantasy team name this year. I'll just draft both those guys, picks 1 and 2, and make it a thing.
Won't be a playoff guy.
Well, you also won't have the first and second pick of the fantasy draft. So.
My first and second pick. Jeez, Paul. Jeez. Yeah, no, I like GT landing in Vegas. Star rookie additions back-to-back years. Brock Bowers and now GT. They still have some holes to fill for sure, and especially on the defensive side of the ball, offensive line, second level and third level of the defense, not the D line, obviously. But I don't know, man. They're still a couple of years away, I think, from making good on this Geno Smith acquisition, which begs the question: is it going to be worth it in the end, Paul? I know your answer. No.
Well, it depends on. I mean,
depends on what happens.
You don't sign Geno Smith really expecting to win anything. It's all bridge quarterback there. So, I don't know. But I've said my piece on Geno Smith, so I won't belabor that point anymore. I just don't understand, like, when you bring in a caliber guy of Geno Smith, he's just good enough to not get you a high draft pick, but not good enough to win you anything. It's the old adage of why the Steelers are so frustrating to me. So it's like, what's the point? You might as well either just go I know you guys may disagree, but I would rather do what the Browns are doing at bridge quarterback right now than what the Raiders are doing. Have three super young guys in
Well,
there
to be
just see
fair,
if
you're
somebody
saying that
develops
as a
rather
fan of a
than
team that just brought in Mason Rudolph.
What'd you say?
To be fair, you're saying that as a fan of a team whose plan right now for quarterback is Mason Rudolph.
I mean, yeah, Mason Rudolph, I think, has more of an unknown than Geno Smith does at the very least.
100%.
But you've also heard me say I don't think that the Steelers are winning anything. I know the Steelers aren't winning anything with Mason. And I also said that Geno kind of parallels the Steelers, that
Yeah.
they're just good enough to not get a really good pick, but also not bad enough. Excuse me. I think I have that flip. They're not bad enough to get a really high pick, but they're not good enough to compete for anything. So, and Geno's the same deal.
How about the Ravens? We haven't talked about the Ravens yet. They're another one of those contending teams that are like maybe a couple pieces away. I have a bold prediction. If and when Abdul Carter is forever known as the best defensive player to come out of this draft, I think the Ravens' first round pick, Malachi Starks, will be the second best defensive player taken out of this draft. Baltimore is building a scary group of talented secondary players with, I believe it's Nate Wiggins out of Clemson last year, who was phenomenal until he got hurt towards the end of last season. Obviously, we all know about Kyle Hamilton there as well. That team is loading up on that back half of their defense. And I'm really a fan of those moves, man. You need to have more pieces out there to combat these high-flying offenses that we see nowadays. And we saw the Eagles win a Super Bowl by building a basically 22-headed monster last year, if not more than that, just trying to bring in as many really, really good players as possible. And yeah, I know that's what everybody's trying to do, but some teams, like, you see the picks and you know a little bit about the players and you see the organization that they land with and you're like, that just makes too much sense. Of course that guy's gonna work out there. And that's how I feel about Malachi Starks landing with the Baltimore Ravens. I like Mike Green too. He could be a really, really good addition. He's had some off the field stuff going on. He fell a little bit in the draft. Once he gets that worked out, he could end up being one of the best edge rushers in the league, suiting up in a Ravens uniform too. I don't know what they're going to get out of Derrick Henry this year. I don't know what they're going to do with Mark Andrews. That's still kind of up in the air. But I would expect the Ravens to be back in the mix at the height of the conference again next year, for sure. Maybe they'll get over the hump eventually.
I mean, every year they make you think that they're going to get over the hump, and then the playoffs come and they just blow it one game. So I don't know. I want Lamar to win personally. I know Paul probably feels differently, but
no, I at least want to see him play for a Super Bowl. I think the NFL deserves that. I think the league deserves to see that, to see him on that stage and just see how it goes. If he doesn't do well, so what? So what? Like, sometimes it happens. I'm not going to hold it against him for the rest of his life. I just want to see him get there and see what happens then.
I think that'd just be hilarious if Lamar's retired for 20 years and Pat's still, why'd you never go to a Super Bowl, you?
Man.
I mean, it's the same thing about Josh Allen too. While we're getting on this side, it's the boogeyman Mahomes keeping these guys out of the Super Bowl. It's what it is. I think Lamar's done it to himself a little bit too with some of his poor play in the playoffs. I will say this about Baltimore. I don't think that some of their early defensive draft picks necessarily make them or get them any closer to getting over that playoff hump, beating Kansas City or beating Buffalo, whoever it may be. But, remember early in the year last year and like end of the year before how bad the pass defense was. I don't think that that's going to be the case. That they kind of got that figured out last year. They really sewed up their pass defense as the year went on, and I really don't think that we're going to see any issues like that. You made a good point, Pat. I mean, there's too much talent in the secondary, so they should be locked down. We'll see. Yeah, if Derrick Henry can stay healthy, but he really has his whole career. It's only been 1 year where he's really missed time, and he's just getting up there in age.
Arizona Cardinals, love their top 3 picks. Defense heavy draft. probably necessary. They also added Josh Sweat via free agency in the offseason. Really looks like they're trying to focus on that side of the ball. Jonathan Gandon, defensive-minded head coach. Kyler's future is a little murky. We've talked a lot about quarterback futures this year and kind of fork in the road seasons. What happens the next couple of years? Kyler, the clock is ticking on him. Make no mistake about it. They've got to get something going the next couple of years. They've brought in some good offensive pieces the last few years. They still have James Conner there in the backfield with the tight end. They've got Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. Trey McBride, the tight end, sorry. Something's got to give, man. They either need to make a step up this year with some of the additions they made, or Kyler's going to have to foot the bill within the next couple of seasons eventually. But he's kind of one of those guys. I don't know if a team's going to make a move for him. Any thoughts on Kyler Murray and the Cardinals and their defense-heavy draft, gentlemen?
Kyler's trash.
Period.
No, I think they had a good defensive draft. I think they're probably still a year away or so, but I think Kyler's trash, and they didn't really give him help. I mean, they got that one receiver, Faoko, I guess. I don't even know.
Well, I think that their help was drafted last
Marvin
year.
Harrison.
Yeah.
But I mean, Zay Jones is their wide receiver too. I guess they have Trey McBride.
Yeah, Trey McBride's their wide receiver.
I don't know why. I don't know why I'm thinking for him. I'm like thinking of excuses for Murray. He sucks. He like always does not get the job done.
Yeah, I'm with EJ on this one. Personally, Pat, I got no interest in Arizona. They kind of got better last year. I'll give them a little bit of credit for that. They did take a step forward, but I still can't see them as anything better than the third best team in this division if San Francisco gets healthy, So I'm not sweating this team.
Next up, the Atlanta Falcons. This is a direct quote from PFF's review of their draft this year. The Falcons aggressively upgraded their defensive front by selecting Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., injecting new life into a pass rush that struggled in 2024. Atlanta ranked 31st in pass rush win rate and 29th in total quarterback pressures. Xavier Watts is also a solid third-round pick and could have elite ball hawking skills. Even though Atlanta only had 5 picks, they made the most of them. Seems kind of decent. Atlanta, their defense was not as good as expected last year. Paul, you and I talked about them, I feel like, a good bit last year. That NFC South race was a hot topic for us, and I'm sure it's going to be.
We always talk about the NFC South for some unforeseen reason.
It's entertaining, man. The Falcons had a good draft. The Panthers, I think, had a good draft too. Tet McMillan has true number 1 receiver potential. Mitchell Evans and Jimmy Horn Jr. could be nice complementary pieces for Bryce Young to get the ball to. I kind of like their defensive line additions too. Nick Scourton, Tershawn Wharton through free agency. I'm going to butcher this last name. Uman Milan, the other defensive line pick they had in the draft. That's my best effort. Paul, I know you weren't super high when Tet got selected, but come on, man. There's something there.
What, Tet McMillan?
Yeah.
Oh, I got nothing against Tet McMillan. I know that there was a little bit of concern about maybe some of the dedication to the game. I know that there was that video that came out, surfaced a little bit before the draft, or maybe it was even before, but I think it was him as a freshman talking about how he doesn't watch film and stuff like that. I think he's super talented. I mean, I saw a couple games of his at Arizona, so I think that talent's going to be able to carry him so far.
He put Hunter on skates a few times.
Yeah, exactly. I think I like that pick. I got no problem with that. I don't know if you're confusing my opinion with something else, but I mean, yeah, Carolina needed to do that, to a degree. We talked about Bryce Young not really having like a ton of like really good guys to throw to. I think that we like what Legette's bringing to the table, but there's still a little bit left out there. Thielen's old as dirt, so you needed another compliment.
Thielen's reliable though.
What'd you say?
So Thielen's reliable for his old age. He showed out, I think, week 17.
Week 17.
They need some fresh blood in that receiver room for sure. The Chicago Bears. I really like their offseason this year, beefing up their O-line in free agency, adding 3 studs into the interior of their O-line. They drafted a tackle as well, and Izzy Trapilo out of Boston College. Colston Loveland and Luther Burden are both potential blue chip adds at skill positions. I love Ben Johnson's first offseason at the helm of the Chicago Bears. I don't know what it's going to turn into. They still kind of need a running back. But, yeah, man, I think the Bears could have a little bit of a different feel this year. I know we said that last year and it didn't work out, but this year feels a little, I'm saying it again, it feels a little bit different.
Yeah, I think that this has to signify. I mean, I don't know if they were even putting it out there that they were considering making a push to bring Keenan Allen back, but I thought Keenan Allen was considering between the Chargers and Bears, or at least he had said that at one point. Drafting Burden, I think, pretty much solidifies they're not going to be looking to bring Keenan Allen back. I just don't know if there'd be enough space on the roster, but Odunze should be able to step up. Burden, fills the role that Odunze had last year. Still got DJ Moore and now two pretty good tight ends, Komet and Loveland. So Williams has all the weapons.
For sure. He's got the weapons. He's got the puppeteer, the head coach, Ben Johnson, pulling the strings as well on that offense. How about another young quarterback, another second-year quarterback, but in the opposite conference? Bo Nix, the Denver Broncos, had some nice additions in the draft this year. The back half of their draft isn't that eye-opening, but their top 3 picks all have really excellent value. Guys, we're all South Carolina fans. Remember Pat Bryant, the receiver from Illinois, just taking it to us in that bowl game at the end of the year last year? He could be a very underrated wideout and could maybe even take Cortland Sutton's job in the next couple of years. He's coming up on an end of his contract. Jahdae Barron out of Texas could be the best corner in the class. Pairing him with the quarterbacks they already have in Denver could be awesome. And RJ Harvey could be like a poor man's Alvin Kamara in the league, hopefully with better health. Denver's another team, man. I don't know if they're going to compete for a Super Bowl, but I think they got better. And if Bo Nix gets better too, that's going to make them one step closer to competing for a spot in the next round of the playoffs, whatever that is or looks like.
Yeah, I mean, Barron doesn't have to be a CB1, which, I mean,
No, he doesn't.
Most cornerbacks that get drafted in the first round, that's what they are expected to be, and that's when they don't really pan out. So it takes pressure off of him. And I think, like you said, that running back they got, RJ Harvey, he could be the steal of the draft because he's so electric, and that's something that I think the Denver was looking for throughout the season, no doubt. And I think they finally got that guy. So I mean, it could be another fun year for them.
Wonder if this means that they're going to be looking to move maybe Riley Moss to safety. You draft Barron in the first round. Surtain obviously isn't going anywhere. You're probably got to move Riley Moss to safety or the slot, I would think. But yeah, they're deep there in the secondary. I would have imagined that there's probably a bigger position of need for them though, but I guess I'll trust them here. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see if Denver doubles down on what they did last year, or if last year was kind of a fluke.
How about a little Houston Texans action? Or EJ, do you want to add something else about Denver?
I was just going to say they're the team that added Evan Ingram as well. So
yeah, they brought in Evan Ingram too. He could be a really solid addition at tight end for them if he can stay healthy.
Young quarterback's best friend is the tight end.
100%.
Not Daniel Jones's.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Why you got to do him like that?
No, dude. Evan Ingram was fucking trash in New York. I don't know how he revived his career.
EJ, it's the Jackson Dart era. Because he had a good quarterback throwing him footballs.
No,
sorry,
there were balls in his hands.
I whisper that? How about the Green Bay Packers? I mentioned Houston earlier, but I want to talk about the Packers instead. A lot of depth additions. I don't know if Matthew Golden is going to be a high impact guy right away or ever. And Anthony Belton probably won't take over full-time tackle reps for a couple of years. But I really like Savion Williams, receiver out of TCU. He's like kind of like Cordarrelle Patterson. Same kind of skill set, same kind of frame, but a little bit more talented at actually catching footballs. So I'm just imagining him in that offense, a lot of motions, jet sweeps, that sort of thing. He could be a perfect fit there. And Jordan Love, God, he needs a number one receiver. We'll see what happens there.
I kind of like the Golden pick. Nice little stick it to Aaron Rodgers. Hey, we'll take a first-round receiver now that you're gone.
Yeah.
We're hosting the draft in our backyard. We're going to take a first-round receiver and make you watch. You're not signed to a team.
Yeah. They need a stud receiver, Maybe Golden will be that, maybe it won't. But this like hodgepodge of receivers that they had last year, I think that they need to get Love a guy. We'll see if Golden's that.
The Houston Texans picked a couple of receivers as well. They took the tandem from the Iowa State Cyclones. They also took a tackle out of Minnesota or Surrey. Looks like they made some additions. They really needed some O-line help. They needed to bring in some more receivers too. They've had some injuries there over the last couple of years. I feel like we still haven't really seen the best version of what Houston could be, which is a good thing that they haven't eclipsed that yet. But hopefully that is on the way sooner rather than later for Texans fans. The Vikings, another really competitive team last year. They did not have a ton of picks in the draft this year. Absolutely loved their first round pick. I think that Donovan Jackson, the guard out of Ohio State, is going to be a home run for them. They really needed some offensive line help. And then they took Ty Felton, a wide receiver out of Maryland, at pick number 102 in the third round. He set some school records. He could fly under the radar, probably already has, but I think he'll be a really solid option there. I mean, the Vikings have shown they are wide receiver savvy, so to speak, in the draft as well the last couple of years. How about we bounce over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Emeka Egbuka going into that wide receiver group. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Emeka Egbuka. Give Baker another weapon. We're going to go and take Benjamin Morrison, corner out of Notre Dame, later too. Another corner, Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. Tez Johnson they pick up out of Oregon later on in the draft. But Egbuka is the big flashy name. You guys big fan of that one?
Yeah, I did like that pick a lot, especially if Godwin comes back to his pre-injury self. I think that's a scary three-headed monster there, especially with what they're able to figure out in the run game toward the end of the year.
And I was a fan of it too. I love Ibuka. I also this could be Mike Evans's last year, right? I mean, he's getting up there in age. I think that he's an unrestricted free agent after this year. I don't know if it'll happen for sure, but you always want to plan for the future, right? And that I thought Jalen McMillan was also pretty solid last year and the opportunities that he got. So they, I think that they will probably, not even skip a beat if Godwin maybe isn't quite the same after the injury and Evans does move on in retirement. I think that they've got a decent young receiving core to help still supplement Baker Mayfield or whoever might come down the pike at QB after that. So big fan here of Ibuka.
I want to also shout out the Seattle Seahawks. They took Gray Zabel, guard out of North Dakota State, with their first round pick, but they took Nick Imanwori out of Irmo, South Carolina, Irmo High School, University of South Carolina, with their second round pick. They got Elijah Arroyo, great tight end out of Tennessee, and they took Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. Kind of an interesting 3 or 4 picks there for Seattle. Very telling about how they feel about Sam Darnold. Maybe a little uncertain of him if they're bringing in Milroe. Maybe they just see Milroe as a gadget guy, but maybe not. And then you've got Imanwori going in there hoping to bring back a little bit of that Legion of Boom feel. Plus the guard, Arroyo, tight end, could be a nice little look there. They're trying to refurbish their receiver core after getting rid of DK Metcalf. I don't know what's going to happen in Seattle this year. They're a big question mark team for me in the regular season, but I don't hate their draft. I feel like they had some okay picks.
It's a weird pairing, I feel like, Darnold and Milroe.
Definitely. I know what you mean.
I feel like teams have been trying to say that get a backup quarterback with a similar skill set as the starter. I really don't think that's the case at all. Not to mention Milroe's all upside play, and Darnold is like in that tweener stage between, is he a bridge quarterback and could he still be your future quarterback? Like, the point I'm trying to make with both of those guys is I think that you want to see what both of them can bring to the table, but you don't pay Sam Darnold the money that they did if you want to take a shot and see what the young quarterback Jalen Milroe can bring. But Milroe's a project, so I mean, that's probably multiple years down the road before that they would really kind of set sights on maybe moving with him as a guy who could win them games. And so maybe by then the Darnold contract will have run its course. I don't know.
Hey, maybe Seattle will be the first team to successfully run a two quarterback game. I know the Steelers tried it last year. It didn't really go too well.
No, it didn't. EJ, you're full of great ideas today. I got to admit. Throwing out Josh Palmer, 2-quarterback system in Seattle. Forget who the other one was that you were. Other guy mentioned.
Kamani Vidal.
Paul, I got to throw out the 49ers too before we step away. They have to beef up their D-line, and they certainly tried to. Michael Williams, Alfred Collins out of Georgia and Texas, respectively, getting inserted into that front seven. Nick Martin out of Oklahoma State as well. I don't know what's going to happen with Shanahan and company. Brock Purdy's future is definitely up in the air as well. They took Curtis Rourke out of Indiana in the 7th round. Is he going to be the next Brock Purdy in the next couple of years, or are they going to give Purdy the bag?
Well, if Rourke plays the way that he did in that playoff game against Notre Dame, I don't think Brock Purdy has anything to worry about.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
Personally, I think Purdy will get paid. I think this team will be a lot better. I've said that many a times, and I think that they'll get healthy on offense, and they'll find a way to look more like their form from a couple of years ago. So,
true or false, gentlemen? Cam Ward will be a Pro Bowl quarterback at some point in his career. That's a lower bar than all pro. I'm not going to say all pro. We'll start at Pro Bowl.
True, but that doesn't mean much these days.
No, I was going to say Pro Bowl is so easy to get. Who's that quarterback? Tyler
Huntley's got a Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
True or false? Multiple Pro Bowls.
I'll go true.
False.
Okay. I'll stop it there. And the other team I want to shout out. Haven't talked about them yet. This is the last team we're going to cover before we sign off. Paul, true or false? Quinn Ewers gets starting snaps for the Miami Dolphins this year in a real football game.
Only if there's injuries, not based on merit.
100%. Zach Wilson is there too, by the way.
Yeah, like I'm saying, there's got to be multiple injuries. I'll say false. I will make my official. I do not think that he gets in a game this year. If he does get in a game, it's not because he deserved it. That's the point I'll say. I
don't hate the first 2 picks of the draft, by the way, from them, Kenneth Grant and Jonah Savanier. Josh Jonah Savanier. I don't know.
Just stop trying.
I'm sorry. That's a tough one. There's a lot of vowels in a row there, consecutively. Guys, any final thoughts? Any parting words of wisdom or topics you feel like we got to hit on before we bid adieu to the listeners here tonight?
No. Best quarterback in the draft went to the Eagles.
Who'd they take?
Kyle McCord.
Kyle McCord. Yeah. I do kind of like Kyle McCord. No, EJ, of course. National champion Will Howard will resurrect the Steelers franchise. There was a 6th-round draft pick quarterback back in the day who did it for the New England Patriots, and the Steelers are just going to follow suit with their own 6th-round quarterback in Will Howard. Of course. Right, Pat?
I think all these quarterbacks are going to suck.
I don't think Cam Ward
next year.
I don't think Cam Ward is going to suck, but I think Cam Ward's just going to be like an average dude.
Lenoris Sellers, 2026 #1 overall pick. You heard it here first.
Disagree on that take, but if he is, means South Carolina probably did well.
Theoretically.
Spurs up.
All right, Fifth and Long fans. Thanks for tuning in tonight. It was great to get the fellas back together and talk some ball. Happy May 4th to you. Again, May the 4th be with you once we get there. And thanks for tuning in. Paul, EJ, appreciate you guys. We'll get back together again soon, talk some more ball in the near future. Without further ado, Fifth and Long fans, we'll see you next time.
God bless everybody out there.